The 10 most life-changing Marcus Aurelius quotes. He ruled an empire by day and wrestled with his soul by night. In the flickering light of a Roman tent, Marcus Aurelius wrote not to impress, but to survive. These weren't speeches. They were lifelines. In this video, we uncovered 10 timeless quotes pulled from his private journal, words forged in battle, grief, and doubt. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by life, this may be the guidance you didn't know you were missing. The 10 most life-changing Marcus Aurelius quotes. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome and philosopher of the Stoic school, did not write his words for an audience. Meditations was a private journal, an inner dialogue with himself, composed during military campaigns and sleepless nights. Yet within its pages are some of the most enduring principles of ancient wisdom, lines that illuminate the battle between impulse and reason, fear and acceptance, chaos and inner peace. Each quote that follows comes from this quiet introspection. Together they form a stoic map to navigate the storm of life. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. On the cold northern frontiers of the Roman Empire, facing endless war and sickness, Marcus turned inward. He could not control the politics of the Senate, the mutinies of his legions, or the outbreak of plague in Rome. But he knew where his true domain lay, the citadel of his mind. This principle, drawn from Stoic forebears like Epictetus, reminded him that his judgments, not the events themselves, determined whether he felt burden or peace. His strength was born not of conquest, but of clarity, mastering the one thing he could truly govern, his own thoughts. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Even as the most powerful man in the known world, Marcus saw that true happiness could not be bought or commanded. As he moved through marble palaces and marched with exhausted soldiers, he reminded himself that inner tranquility did not arise from luxury or circumstance, but from disciplined thought. In the Stoic tradition, virtue and wisdom, not pleasure, were the roots of joy. And so he wrote, "Attend to your mind. Cultivate noble thoughts, and life itself becomes noble. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Aurelius viewed the soul as porous, ever absorbing the tone and nature of one's thinking. His metaphor is rich. If you steep fabric in a dye, it takes on that color. So too does the soul take on the shape of the thoughts we dwell upon. If we fill our minds with bitterness, envy, or pettiness, that becomes the hue of our spirit. But if we imbue our minds with discipline, generosity, and reason, the soul reflects something higher. This wasn't poetry to Marcus, it was a practical warning. He lived among schemers, flatterers, and traitors, and he knew the danger of allowing their poison to sink into his own soul. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Philosophy in Rome was often a performance, men of letters competing in debates, defining virtue while failing to live it. Marcus, perhaps growing impatient with his own musings, wrote this line as a rebuke to himself. Stop theorizing, act. Time is short. His Stoicism was never about abstraction, but about action, embodiment, daily renewal. The philosopher emperor reminded himself that every day was a choice. Speak with honesty, serve with justice, live with courage. No more rhetoric, only the work of virtue. The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. Surrounded by opportunists, rebels, and corrupt governors, Marcus could have grown bitter. But this line, written in the solitude of his own hand, reveals his resolve. The world may strike at you unjustly, but you do not have to become unjust in return. To imitate your enemy is to surrender to him. By remaining true to your own principles, you rise above insult and injury. Marcus knew that real revenge was the preservation of one's character. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. This is the essence of Stoic perception. Events, Marcus believed, were neutral. It was judgment that shaped suffering. In the camp, when news of rebellion reached him, or when his body weakened with illness, he turned to this truth. If something causes pain, it is because the mind has labeled it as such. But the mind is free. It can withdraw its judgment at will. There is liberation, he believed, in knowing that the chain of suffering is forged by thought, and thus can be broken by thought. Dwell on the beauty of life. Watch the stars and see yourself running with them. For all his meditations on death and duty, Marcus also had moments of wonder. He looked up at the stars and saw in them a reflection of order, harmony, and mystery. The stars, eternal and silent, offered perspective. Compared to them, what were his troubles? Dwell on the beauty, he wrote, not because life was easy, but because it was fleeting. His Stoicism was not devoid of awe. To remember beauty, to see oneself as part of the cosmos, was to rise above pettiness and rediscover grace. When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. Each morning, Marcus reminded himself that life was a gift. Despite the weight of empire, despite wars and sleepless nights, he saw each new day as sacred. Stoicism, often caricatured as cold or unemotional, was in fact deeply reverent. Marcus saw gratitude not as sentimentality, but as a practice. To breathe, to think, to be happy, to share love. These were not rights, but privileges. And in remembering them, he began each day from a place of quiet strength. It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live. The emperor knew death intimately. He had buried children. He had led armies into hopeless battles. He had watched plagues tear through his capital. And yet, he did not fear death. What he feared, what haunted his journal, was the thought of a life unlived. To drift, to delay, to avoid the difficult work of becoming good. That, he believed, was the true tragedy. Death comes to all, but not all truly live before it does. His reminder was urgent. Begin. Live now. Let each day count. Don't behave as if you are destined to live forever. What's fated hangs over you. While you still live, while you still can, be good. This was the pulse of Marcus's daily meditations. Memento mori. Remember you will die. The emperor wrote again and again of life's brevity, not to depress himself, but to sharpen his awareness. Every moment wasted, every virtue delayed was a theft from oneself. While breath remains, he urged himself, do the work of character. Be just, be present, be kind. The shadow of fate hangs over all, but we are still alive. And while we are free to choose who we are. Final reflection. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, but his truest kingdom was his own mind. Through plague, betrayal, war, and personal loss, he turned again and again to these reminders. Not as lofty ideals, but as anchors. In the quiet of the night, with ink-stained fingers and a tired heart, he wrote down the words he needed to live by. And in doing so, he left behind not a treatise for emperors, but a guide for all of us. If this video touched your heart, subscribe. It's inspired by the timeless wisdom in the 7-book Rumi collection by Dr. Farid Mostaman. Whether you seek healing, love, clarity, or growth, these teachings will guide you inward to the truth of who you are.